say dolls can't speak. But that's a lie. Some scream, some cry, and some just wait. This is the story of Natalie Cordero and what was left behind in Room 9. Natalie Cordero had not spoken a full sentence to another human being in 23 days. Not since she stood in the cemetery wearing her late daughter's favorite yellow scarf and watched a white, too-small coffin disappear into the earth. Even the wind had been silent that day. Now, 3 weeks later, Natalie drove through a forgotten stretch of forest highway in a borrowed car, her GPS flickering and her body heavy like stone. She wasn't sure how long she'd been driving or where exactly she was going. Just that somewhere far from people felt safer than home. Grief had changed shape. At first, it was loud, sobbing, screaming into pillows, throwing dishes in the kitchen. Now it was quiet. Now it just stared at her, waited for her, like it wanted to outlive her. She found Hillcrest Rest Lodge by accident. The place wasn't on Google Maps, but an old wooden sign leaning crooked near the tree line simply read, Hillcrest, vacancy, no internet. That sealed it. She pulled into the gravel lot. The inn looked like something from a faded postcard. 2 stories, brick red paint peeling at the corners, vines crawling up one side. A wraparound porch sagged in the middle like a tired smile. There were no other cars. She parked, took a breath. The trees creaked behind her, but the building was still, dead quiet. And that's what she needed. Inside, the lobby smelled like lavender, old furniture, and dust. Behind the check-in desk sat a thin, older woman in her 60s, hair pulled tightly into a graying bun. She wore a cardigan buttoned to the neck and a silver locket that hung like a secret. Her name tag read, Margot. She looked up as Natalie stepped in, not startled, not curious, just observant. "You here for quiet?" she asked plainly, her voice dry like a page being turned. Natalie nodded. "Good, that's what this place does." There were no forms, no ID check, just a heavy brass key placed gently on the counter. "Room 8, Margot said. "End of the hall, 2nd floor." Natalie took the key, but Margot didn't let go just yet. Their eyes met. "And just a warning," Margot said, her tone softening. "Room 9, next door to yours. It's always locked. Has been for years. Don't worry about it." Natalie blinked. "Okay." "No one goes in, just don't knock, don't ask." Natalie wanted to ask why, but grief had drained all her curiosity. She simply nodded again and climbed the stairs. Room 8 was clean but dated. Worn quilt, oak dresser, one bedside lamp. She had come here to write. That was the excuse. But she hadn't written a single word since Mira died. Her laptop remained unopened. Her journal untouched. It wasn't that the words weren't there. It's that they hurt too much to touch. That night, she made tea with the tiny kettle, turned off all the lights except one, and curled up on the bed with her knees pulled to her chest. The doll that once sat at the foot of Mira's bed, the one she'd buried with her, flashed in her memory. Natalie flinched. Don't think about her. Not now. Not here. She stared at the ceiling, eyes wide. Sleep wouldn't come. Only silence. But even silence sometimes gets interrupted. Because just as the clock turned 2:46 a.m., Natalie heard something through the wall. It was faint, familiar, crying. A child's. Soft at first, like a whimper muffled through cotton. Then a gasp, then 3 hiccuping sobs. She sat up sharply. The sound was coming from the wall beside her bed. the one shared with room 9. She held her breath. Again. Crying. More urgent now, as if the child was just on the other side of the plaster, curled up in bed, missing their mother. Natalie's throat tightened. Her legs moved before her brain told them to. She stepped out of bed, crossed the room, and put her ear against the wall. It went silent. Nothing. Just heartbeat. Just breath. She crept out into the hallway. The corridor was dark, moonlight bleeding through a dusty window. Room 9's door stood shut. Paint cracked near the handle, the number 9 slightly crooked. She touched the knob. Locked. No sound now. Just her pulse. Just the cold. She returned to her room, curled back into bed, eyes fixed on the wall. She told herself it was plumbing. Old buildings groan. They breathe, strange, nothing to worry about. And yet, when she turned off the light, she swore the sobbing started again. This time, even quieter, as if it was coming from under her bed. At exactly 2:46 a.m., Natalie's eyes snapped open. No sound, no movement, just the heavy weight of something being wrong. She lay still, the blanket clenched tightly in her fists. The lamp beside her flickered once, then steadied. That's when she heard it, the soft sound of fabric dragging across wood. It wasn't wind, it wasn't pipes. It was deliberate, rhythmic, like tiny footsteps. She sat up, slowly. The sound stopped. She turned toward the wardrobe, closed, exactly how she left it. She stood, heart pounding, and stepped barefoot across the cold floor. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the handle. You're being ridiculous. It's just a doll, a gift, a leftover, a mistake. She opened the door. The doll was gone. Natalie blinked, stepped back. No doll, just an empty shelf. Then she heard it again. 3 taps from behind the wall. Not just any wall, the one connected to room 9. She rushed into the hallway, barefoot, wearing only a sweater and flannel pants. The lodge was silent, the hallway, even darker than usual. The door to room 9 stood at the end, still shut. But something was different. The air was colder here, thicker, like she had walked into a part of the house that wasn't ready to see her. She reached for the handle, still locked. She knelt, tried to peek under the door. Darkness. Then, just before she leaned back, a shadow moved. Someone, or something, was standing just beyond it, motionless, watching. Natalie stood, backing away, her breath visible in the air now. She returned to her room, slammed the door shut, and locked it. Her phone had no signal, no messages, no internet, just the time. 3:03 a.m. She turned toward the wardrobe again and found the doll sitting on her pillow, facing the door. She screamed, loud, raw, unfiltered panic. She grabbed the doll, stormed downstairs to the lobby. Margot was there, in the dark, as if she'd been waiting. "What is this?" Natalie cried, holding up the doll. "Why does it have my daughter's name?" Margot didn't flinch, didn't blink. "That room remembers," she said quietly. "It's not the only one." "What are you talking about?" "Room 9, Margot whispered. "Some things were left behind in there, and they don't like being forgotten." Natalie dropped the doll on the desk. "I'm leaving." Margot nodded once. "Then you should go. Before tomorrow night." "Why?" Margot's eyes darkened. "Because that's when the others come." Natalie didn't sleep the rest of that night. She sat with her back against the wall, light on, arms around her knees. She thought about Mira, about the day she stopped breathing, about the moment Natalie turned away, for just 10 minutes. That's all it had taken. And now, The doll stood. Its tiny cloth feet didn't move, but it rose anyway. Weightless, unnatural. Natalie pressed herself against the wall. The room felt darker now, lit only by the dim halo of the hallway light that barely seeped beneath the door. The air was no longer cold. It was thick, like syrup, like smoke, like memory. The doll's mouth, once sewn shut, now opened slowly, but instead of a voice, a memory poured out. The walls began to fade, not disappear, just melt into something else. Suddenly, Natalie was no longer in room 9. She was standing in her old kitchen, her apartment in the city, the one with the blue tiles and the broken fridge light. Mira was sitting at the table, 3 years old, hair in tiny braids, drawing something with red crayon on the back of a takeout menu. Natalie felt her body shift, not move, but transform. She was standing behind herself, watching, seeing her own face, tired, sunken-eyed, distracted, phone in hand, eyes not on her daughter, voice distant. "Just 5 minutes, Mira. Mommy's busy." That phrase. That same phrase. The same one she'd whispered the day Mira had wandered out the front door, into the street, toward the curb, where the car didn't stop. Natalie screamed, "Stop it! I remember! I know what happened!" But the room didn't care, because room 9 didn't exist to forgive. It existed to preserve. The walls twisted again. This time, she was in a hospital. White lights, cold metal. The flatline sound from the monitor was deafening. And there she was, in the chair beside the bed, Mira's tiny hand in hers, already still, already cold. Natalie's mouth was open. She was screaming, but no sound came out. Only dolls surrounded the bed now, dolls in lab coats, dolls with stethoscopes, all whispering. "You weren't watching. You said she was safe. You let her die." She dropped to her knees. "I didn't mean to. I swear I didn't mean to." The doll stepped closer. Its eyes were now deep black pits. But when Natalie looked inside, she saw herself, alone, crying, in the hotel bed, night after night. Then the doll whispered again. But this time, it was Mira's voice. "You were supposed to keep me. I wasn't ready," Natalie sobbed. "Then why did you leave me in room 9? Suddenly, the illusion snapped. Natalie was back in the lodge, in room 9, surrounded by the dolls. And all of them were staring at her now, without eyes, no buttons, no thread, just gaping holes. One by one, they began to speak. We are the ones they forgot. The children of mothers who couldn't look back. The memories sealed behind closed doors.